I'm getting the wit on me, and I'm sitting there the whole time going, China, China, China. I'm trying to do it again and again. So then it becomes, so you don't think about it. Just do
I'm shocked by that because I figured it was something you'd been doing.
That's what I should say. I worked on it for months.
Well, no, it's even more impressive that it wasn't in your wheelhouse.
I didn't really know. But there's a guy.
Holocaust Remembrance Day. And as you know, 6 million people were at my inauguration. I mean, there were just so many people at my inauguration, but the media refuses to cover it. It's so unfair. And one day I'm going to write a memoir about this struggle. I call it My Struggle.
There's a unique kind of chaos that takes over whenever Jimmy Kimmel and Alec Baldwin find themselves talking about Donald Trump at the same time. Kimmel brings the sharp wit of a late-night host, picking apart political moments with calm confidence and a perfectly timed joke, while Baldwin approaches it from a completely different angle, stepping into his unforgettable Trump impression with a level of exaggeration that's impossible to ignore. Together, they've turned Trump's larger-than-life personality into a recurring character that audiences instantly recognize, and it's clear he has never really let that go. Every time Kimmel points out another contradiction, or Baldwin slips back into that familiar version of Trump, complete with the exaggerated confidence and unmistakable attitude, the conversation starts all over again, reminding people why these moments keep grabbing so much attention.
I want you to know, sometimes when I watch you striding across the White House lawn so confidently, with so much masculinity, I'll admit it, I get sexually aroused. Thank you for breathing life back into my once slumbering penis.
That was very well stated, listen.
A handful of Republicans are siding with Democrats to force it. They want to see it all. They want to know who Jeffrey Epstein's friends are, which I have to say, I know who one of them is. He looks like this. The guy, that husky one in the pink tie on the, yes.
Time after time, Trump seemed to fall into the same pattern. He would react, fire back, and end up giving even more attention to the very jokes aimed at him. Jimmy Kimmel became one of his favorite targets, with Trump once calling him the least funny person on television. That criticism came after Kimmel hosted the 2017 Oscars and used Hollywood's biggest night to poke fun at the newly elected president. One of the night's most memorable moments came when Kimmel jokingly looked into the camera and tweeted, "Hey, real Donald Trump, you up?" It sounded like a simple joke, but it was also a challenge, and it got exactly the reaction people expected. Trump didn't let it slide. Over the following days, he repeatedly complained about Kimmel, criticized the Oscars, and attacked the show's ratings, turning what started as a single punchline into an even bigger story by responding to it himself.
Disconnect, it's impossible. You can't turn him off. He won't power down. He's like Ultron. He just keeps going. Every day, it's something crazier than the next. I made a list. This is all in the last 2 months. I made you a quick list. I will run through it. He paved over the Rose Garden. He's building a golden ballroom at the White House. He's planning a UFC fight at the White House. He cut off Kamala Harris's Secret Service protection. He named himself host of the Kennedy Center honors.
It's almost unfair the way comedy aligns.
Who's on the internet, it's interesting how there are people who, now that he's not going to the White House Correspondents' Center, there are people who are lobbying to play Trump at the White House Correspondents' Center.
You are not one of those people?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm not lobbying, but people would say, would you do it? And there's a couple guys on the internet who are like, no, please, I'm the only man.
What Trump never seemed to realize was that every angry post he shared only brought more attention to the people criticizing him. Each time he fired back, even more viewers tuned the following night to see how Jimmy Kimmel would respond. Then came the moment that transformed a late-night monologue into something much bigger than comedy. After Kimmel's newborn son underwent emergency heart surgery, he stepped away from the jokes and spoke from the heart. Using his platform, he argued that any healthcare bill should have to pass one simple test. No family should ever lose access to medical care just because they can't afford it. There was no act, no performance, and no attempt to score laughs. It was personal, honest, and completely unfiltered. And that sincerity resonated with people across the country.
President who saved us from ourselves by calling in the National Guard to stop a conflict that never started but could have. Had he not acted to prevent an entirely fabricated crisis from spinning out of his imagination and onto our streets. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for sending troops to occupy all of these Democrat-run cities, whether we want them or not, and we do not. You know, after his big successes stopping nothing.
When Trump and his allies pushed to roll back protections for people with pre-existing medical conditions, Kimmel stopped treating it like just another political story. He went point by point through Trump's arguments, challenging them directly and telling viewers that it's easy to say you care about families. But what really matters is whether the policies match those words. The message struck a nerve. The clip spread across social media, sparked widespread discussion, and was even referenced by policy experts. Before long, lawmakers were being asked whether the healthcare legislation they supported could meet what many had started calling the Kimmel test. The idea that no family should lose access to care simply because they couldn't afford it. Over the years, Kimmel has remained one of Trump's most consistent critics, using humor when it fits in serious, personal moments when the situation calls for it, making him a persistent voice that Trump has repeatedly found difficult to ignore.
Over for Putin, he sent military tanks into Washington, D.C. He said the Smithsonian focuses too much on how bad slavery was. He called India and Norway to tell them to nominate him for a Nobel Prize, and he cut off funding for pediatric brain cancer research for children. You would think a person who himself has the brain of a child would be in favor of funding pediatric brain cancer.
Serious private conversation between three friends plus 50 reporters with cameras. I'm proud to welcome Kanye West, Yeezus, Yandi, Yadam, Yosain, an amazing guy. Thank you for coming, Kanye.
Yeah, that's right. I flew here using the power of this hat.
Kimmel kept finding new ways to turn Trump's own moments into punchlines. At one point, he joked that Trump's appearance looked like the world's first self-applied permanent marker, using the line to poke fun at his distinctive look. During the pandemic, Kimmel addressed Trump's widely discussed comments about disinfectants with completely straight face while holding up a bottle of Lysol, letting the contrast between the serious delivery and the absurdity of the moment do most of the work. Then, after the 2020 election, he turned his attention to the claims surrounding the results, joking that it was the first time anyone had tried to argue that losing was somehow the same as winning. With each monologue, Kimmel leaned on Trump's own public statements and reactions, allowing the audience to connect the dots while his jokes landed with the calm confidence that had become his trademark.
Oh,
We should
yeah.
play Trump.
Yeah, no.
And they're really kind of, there's like a lot of Trump competition.
You
I got
own
sucked
it.
into this.
No one will top you
Don't
on
tell
this.
these guys.
Well,
Until they
don't-
say I suck.
Nobody even knows who these guys are. Don't worry about it.
I
You
can't
suck.
say bad words
That's
because I gave it up for Lent. But
Yeah.
but this one guy's lobbying.
It should
Good
be
job.
whoever the president hates seeing do it the most, and that's undoubtedly you.
I say so.
Wouldn't you love to be in that room with him, watching you do him, and how mad that must make him?
Well, I mean, it's like, to me, it's like he's. So, when people say to me, "What was your whole gag?" And you know as well as I do, because you're very funny, that you can kind of suggest the voice or suggest the way they look, but you got to try to think of who he is.
Here and in Washington, Trump is sending the National Guard now into Portland and Chicago. He's sending the Texas National Guard into Chicago, all dressed in camouflage, by the way. And I want to say, I know you're from Texas, guys. Camouflage will not help you blend in Chicago. You would be better off dressed as kielbasa in Chicago. Illinois state and local officials strongly opposed troops being sent into the Windy City. President Trump responded to that by calling for the governor and mayor to be jailed. That's a normal thing for presidents to do, right?
By that point, the pattern had become almost predictable. Trump would make a controversial statement. Kimmel would respond with another sharp joke, and somehow the laughter seemed to hit harder than any headline ever could. Then there was Alec Baldwin, who approached it from a completely different direction. Instead of commenting from behind a desk, he stepped into the role of Trump himself. When Baldwin first debuted his Trump impression on Saturday Night Live during the 2016 election debates, it immediately became one of the most talked about performances on television. From the voice and the constant sniffing to the exaggerated facial expressions and unmistakable pout, every detail felt instantly recognizable. It wasn't just an impression anymore. For many viewers, It became a satirical reflection of Trump's public image, and the performance landed with such force that it quickly turned into a cultural phenomenon people couldn't stop talking about.
Oh, that's okay. He can have mine, too.
Okay, Mr. Trump, 2 more minutes.
The thing about the blacks is that they're killing each other.
He hasn't released his tax returns, which means he's either not that rich,
Wrong.
not that charitable,
Wrong.
or he's never paid taxes in his life.
Warmer. I have a fantastic relationship with Mexico, okay? I have personally met with the Mexican president. I forget his name. I think it was something like Mr. Guacamole. I'm sorry, excuse me, Senor Guacamole. I also met his beautiful wife, Taquito.
Trump's criticism of Alec Baldwin's impression may have been intended to dismiss it, but it had the opposite effect. The more he complained that the performance was unwatchable, the more people wanted to see it for themselves. Over the next 4 years, Baldwin's version of Trump evolved into more than just a celebrity impression. It became a satirical portrait built around exaggerated confidence, insecurity, and larger-than-life behavior. Rather than inventing those qualities, Baldwin amplified the traits people were already debating, making them impossible to ignore. One of his most memorable Saturday Night Live cold opens came in the aftermath of the Access Hollywood tape. As public attention focused on Trump's explanation of the recording, Baldwin reenacted the damage control effort with his trademark style, joking about ratings while parodying the controversy through exaggerated dialogue and over-the-top delivery. The sketch quickly became one of the show's most talked-about political moments, showing how satire could turn a major news story into a performance that audiences continued discussing long after it aired.
Brazenly pulled Epstein's wing woman, his personal madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, out of real prison last month and transferred her into what is basically a courtyard by Marriott. The woman who has all the information on everyone is suddenly in a prison that has Pilates class, thanks to President Trump, and nobody bats an eye about this.
Kimmel especially loves pointing out how Trump constantly tries to rewrite reality as though repetition will make his version true. It's the magician's trick that never works, because the rabbit he's pulling out of the hat is always a possum in disguise.
As new controversies continued to unfold, Baldwin kept weaving them into his Saturday Night Live performances. After Trump's response to the events in Charlottesville drew intense criticism, Baldwin's sketches reflected that backlash by parodying the president's both sides comments and highlighting what many critics saw as the deeper issues behind them. Then came the infamous Kofefe tweet, which quickly became an internet sensation. Baldwin turned it into another memorable sketch, wandering around the Oval Office as Trump, mumbling that the deep state must be plotting against the spell check. But the impression was never just about getting laughs. Baldwin used a character as a way to exaggerate familiar behaviors and invite audiences to think about them from a different angle. In one widely discussed sketch, his version of Trump even called Vladimir Putin for advice, speaking to him with exaggerated admiration, turning a political storyline into a piece of satire that reflected the debates already dominating the headlines.
Vaughn is on the line.
I was expecting this phone call. Sure she wants to tell me what a great job I'm doing. Yes, Mayor, you wanted to talk to me?
Yes, Mr. President, I'm so glad to have you on the phone. I'm begging you. Puerto Rico needs your help.
I hear you loud and clear, and you called the best person for the job. Trust me, I know things are, as the locals say, despacito. We're going to get you more help to you. We'll get you immediately, probably by Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest.
Mr. President, that's not good enough.
Well, you should have paid your...
One line in particular, "I love you, Vlad," got a huge laugh, but also summed up an idea that political commentators would spend months trying to explain in far more complicated ways. That was the strength of Baldwin's portrayal. He had a way of taking complicated political behavior and boiling it down into a single unforgettable moment that people instantly understood. Instead of simply mocking Trump, he exaggerated the traits that were already on display, making them impossible to overlook. And every time Trump complained about Saturday Night Live, while also talking about its ratings, he seemed to reinforce Baldwin's central joke, that he appeared far more focused on the television show criticizing him than on the bigger issues facing the country. Even outside of SNL, Baldwin often worked subtle references into his public appearances and award speeches, continuing his criticism in a quieter but unmistakable way. Together, those moments show that his satire wasn't built only to entertain. It was also meant to spark conversation long after the laughter had faded.
Trump warmed up for his date with the British press by yelling at a reporter from Australia who dared to ask about the billions of dollars he's been raking in since the election.
President Trump that a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Port Horton program.
The Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone. Well, go ahead, John.
What a little...
Mr. Trump, this leaked audio showed you saying, I can't quite say it on live television, but basically, you said you wanted to
Grab them by the pussy. Martha, this black man is attacking me. Also, speaking of black men, you know who else should be in jail? Hillary Clinton. She's committed so many crimes. She's basically a black.
When Baldwin won an Emmy for his portrayal of Trump, he accepted the award with a line that instantly got the room laughing, saying, "At long last, we have a president who believes in the arts." It was delivered so calmly and dryly that the joke landed even harder and the audience erupted. Reports that Trump was once again upset over the Emmys only added another layer of irony, especially since the awards had long been tied to conversations about The Apprentice. It was one of those moments where reality seemed to hand comedians their next punchline without any extra effort. And that's where the worlds of Jimmy Kimmel and Alec Baldwin often came together. Whenever Baldwin appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live, the two would naturally drift into conversations about Trump's reactions, joking about the mindset behind his public outbursts and trying to understand why criticism seemed to provoke such immediate and emotional responses. Their exchanges mixed humor with observation, turning Trump's own reactions into some of their most memorable material.
Just yesterday, there's this video of what seemed to be garbage bags being thrown out of the window of the Lincoln bedroom. That's the White House. The official response from the White House said it was maintenance work being done while Trump was off on one of his many golf weekends. But Trump is even contradicting his own White House now.
There's a video that is circulating online now of the White House where a window is open to the residence upstairs, and somebody has thrown a big bag out the window. Have you seen this?
No, that's probably
I've turned over all my businesses to my two sons, Beavis and Butthead. They're here today. Can we get a shot of them? Look at those two little American psychos. Martha, she is trying to silence these women, but they need to be respected. They need their voices heard. Whenever Baldwin appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Kimmel would often pull up another clip of Trump complaining that Saturday Night Live was unfair or somehow rigged, setting the stage for another conversation about the impression that had become so well known. Baldwin would then break down the small details that brought the character to life, from the pushed-out lips and shallow breathing to the stiff posture and exaggerated body language. The audience laughed at the performance, but beneath the comedy, he was also explaining how he believed public confidence could be performed through carefully repeated mannerisms. Those appearances felt like more than ordinary celebrity interviews. Baldwin brought the performance. Kimmel brought the clips and the context, and together they revisited many of the moments that had defined Trump's public image, blending humor with commentary in a way that kept audiences entertained while giving them plenty to think about.
Some of the Epstein and Maxwell victims held a press conference on the steps of the Capitol to demand the release of the files and to announce that they are making their own list of men who assaulted them to release. You know, they were scared, and they're so scared to release the names, but now they have an unlikely ally from inside MAGA.
I also encouraged him already this morning that he should have these women in the Oval Office. They deserve to be there.
You spoke to him?
Yes, I did. And I told him I'd be happy to set that up, arranging with their attorney by sharing his phone number.
What was his reaction about?
I haven't got an answer back.
I'm sure he'll get back to you on that very, very soon. Is she that?
Again and again, the same pattern kept repeating. Trump would respond on social media, and every angry post seemed to give his satire even more momentum. It was almost as if each reaction confirmed the very behavior Kimmel had been joking about all along. You could almost imagine Kimmel smiling to himself, knowing Trump was watching once again. What has always made Kimmel different is that he doesn't rely on jokes alone. He blends comedy with public statements, video clips, and documented events, building his monologues around things people have already seen or heard for themselves. When Trump claimed there had been widespread voter fraud, Kimmel revisited the clips, referenced the legal challenges surrounding those claims, and then wrapped it all together with a perfectly timed punchline. That balance of facts and humor became his signature style, making the comedy feel grounded while letting the audience decide what to make of it for themselves.
This campaign to own the libs and deport everybody with a vowel at the end of their name is the passion project of a sick, bald individual named Stephen Miller. He is Trump's deputy chief of staff, and he is doing everything he can to turn this country into a militarized zone.
Well, the administration filed an appeal this morning with the Ninth Circuit. I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
Sometimes the batteries on dildos run out.
That's what made Kimmel's monologue stand out. The jokes were so sharp and carefully timed that it was easy to miss how much detail and preparation went into them. Rather than relying on comedy alone, he built his segments around public statements, interviews, and widely discussed events, turning them into nightly commentaries with humor woven throughout. At one point, Kimmel summed up his approach by saying that if the president was angry with him, he must be doing something right, presenting the idea not as an act of bravado, but as a form of accountability delivered with a punchline. At the same time, Baldwin's version of Trump grew beyond a simple television impression and became a character that many people recognized even after Trump's presidency. Even those who rarely follow politics could instantly recognize the pursed lips, the small hand gestures, the exaggerated voice, and the childlike outbursts. In many ways, Baldwin managed to distill years of political headlines into one unforgettable performance, blending satire, parody, and cultural commentary into a character that stayed in the public conversation long after each sketch had ended.
What about all the women accusing you of sexual assault?
They need to shut the hell up. Every day I turn on the news and all of the newscasters are making me look so bad.
And how are we doing that?
By taking all of the things I say and all of the things I do and putting them on TV. She's the one with the bad temperament. She's always screaming, she's constantly lying, her hair is crazy, her face is completely orange, except around the eyes where it's white. And when she stops talking, her mouth looks like a tiny little butthole.
Who was arrested? I wish him luck.
What made it especially striking was the idea that Trump seemed to recognize something familiar in Baldwin's performance, which may be one reason the impression drew such a strong reaction. There was also an interesting irony running through the entire story. Kimmel, Baldwin, and Trump all built their careers in television, and all three understood the power of performance. But the commentary argues that while Kimmel and Baldwin treated performance as something to examine and satirize, Trump presented his public image as something inseparable from reality. That's why their comedy resonated with so many people. From that perspective, it wasn't simply about politics. It became a broader conversation about image, perception, and the difference between public performance and what people believe is true. What has kept this long-running feud so compelling is that it never seems to reach a final chapter. Every new interview, social media post, public appearance, or reaction creates another moment to discuss, another joke to tell, and another chapter in a rivalry that continues to evolve on its own.
Have you spoken to Billy Bush at all?
I have not. I've always liked Billy, but I have not.
Any message you'd like to send to him?
No, I think it's too bad what they did, but I've always found Billy to be a good guy.
When you were on Jimmy Kimmel, you told Mario that you would love Alec to play you. And then I interviewed Alec, and Alec said he's playing you to make your dream come true, is what he said.
Okay, well.
What do you think of his portrayal? And do you have a message for Alec?
Well, I think I'm a much nicer guy than he's portraying.
As Trump's legal troubles dominated the headlines in 2024, Kimmel turned them into another memorable late-night segment, jokingly reading through the indictment counts as if he were calling out bingo numbers. He quipped that if people were following along at home, they had obstruction, falsifying records, and attempting to overturn an election all in one weekend, using humor to highlight the nonstop stream of legal news. Around the same time, even though Alec Baldwin had stepped back from making regular Saturday Night Live appearances, he continued sharing his views, at one point describing Trump as the Emperor of Insecurity. While the headlines kept changing, the central theme of their commentary stayed remarkably consistent. They argued that beneath the displays of confidence and strength was a deep sense of insecurity presented as power. From that perspective, Trump's political style was built around a constant sense of grievance, with public conflicts and personal complaints becoming defining features of the image he projected over the years.
I actually heard the aliens are already here. They've been hiding in this country for hundreds of years. It's a fact. They're shapeshifters. They look like regular people, but they're aliens. Look, there's one right there.
What? I am not an alien.
Here she is, and so is the woman next to her right there.
For Kimmel and Baldwin, Trump's endless stream of controversies became a source of material that kept writing itself. But beneath the jokes, their message was always meant to be bigger than simple entertainment. They argued that the real issue wasn't just one person's ego, but what can happen when image, personal grievance, and public power become deeply connected. Their comedy resonated because it drew from events that had already played out in public. The social media posts, the public statements, the legal cases, and the long-running feuds all became part of the stories they told through satire. Rather than relying on rumors or speculation, they built their routines around moments that audiences had already watched unfold for themselves, turning major headlines into comedy without losing sight of the underlying issues. And over time, another pattern became impossible to ignore. Whenever Trump publicly attacked Kimmel or Baldwin, the criticism often brought even more attention to their work, introducing new audiences to the very jokes and performances he was trying to dismiss. In that sense, every response seemed to keep the conversation alive, adding another chapter to a rivalry that had been playing out in public for years.
He's portraying somebody who's very mean and nasty, and I'm not mean and nasty. I think I'm a much nicer person than he's portraying, and so I think it's an inaccurate portrayal of me.
Would you ever go back to SNL? I heard rumors that you might go back.
They want me to go back. No, I'm not interested in going back. No, I'd just like to have it, look, I can speak my mind, and I say it. I think they're making me out to be a very mean, bad kind of a guy, and that's not me.
Some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House.